Dipali and I sit in the boardroom together, and it's like very difficult to see her like this in this forum and have a conversation with her. But, I have, because I've seen Dipali, in the boardroom, is what inspired me to write her story in this book that we have launched recently, She Storms, and you'll hear more about that book. But just to give you the context, it's, like she said, my firm is all about storming the norms. And when COVID happened, we realized that women, were the ones who actually had to face a lot many more challenges at that point in time when the whole scenario changed. And there were things that they were not expecting, that this is how their lives would turn. And at that point in time, we decided to do our second book. The first book is called Storm the Norm, How 20 Businesses Storm the Norm. And this book is about how 17 very unique women managed to overcome some challenges. And the common thing in all of these, what was the common theme in all of this is that these are women who have actually, by being in the existing ecosystem, without being rebellious, without wanting to make a point, have navigated their lives and have challenged many norms and have emerged successful. And Dipali is one such person. And that's the reason why, I was very keen that she's here for this conversation, and we're really delighted, Dipali. An hour and a half, and I know what kind of schedule she runs. She has a crazy life. Her day starts at 3:34 in the morning, and, it goes on and on. And for her to make it here is really special, so thank you.
No, but first of all, thank you, Anisha. And I'll tell you, it's a delight to see more women in this forum. And really, this is something really good. Thank you for inviting me once again.
So, the first question, Dipali, is, I know that somebody who's born with a silver spoon, for many of you who don't know, and I want you to read her story in the book, she comes from this very royal parivar. She comes from the Rajgharana in Jaipur. And she's lived in a life of luxury where she was not allowed to even enter the kitchen or be alone, without having some kind of a cocoon or shelter around her. And when you are born with that kind of a silver spoon, you come into this world of business. And the general perception is that if you are an owner's wife, she is here for some time pass. Ye to boss ki biwi hai, and she's come into this business, and she's obviously wanting to dabble something. She wants to do something. So how did you manage to actually get yourself taken seriously,
So, Anisha, first of all, coming in from the family that I come in from Jaipur, you might say it's a silver spoon, but it also tends to restrict you sometimes in a way of growth because of the kind of, opportunities that are there in the world, but you're not because you're restricted for a lot of other norms that are there. There's one thing that I must say, today I'm sitting here is because of my mother. And I just can't thank her enough. Coming in from a conservative Marwari environment, but my mother still worked then. She ran theaters and she was a chairman of a bank, Anisha. And for me to see that, I think the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I can truly say that because of my mom. I have learned a lot. Coming to your next question that you said, so let me tell you, my journey has been interesting. People will say, oh, she's sitting here, and a lot of times looks are deceptive. Let me also say that. When I got on board of, so I started in 2003. Let me just come back to the time when I started, actually in the year 2000. I have 2 daughters. And coming from there, in a Marwari community, to have 2 daughters and not a son is a big deal. I realized I need to make my own legacy. And that legacy that I have to give to my daughters. A legacy of independence, a legacy of financial independence, actually. It was very important for me, and that's where I thought I need to lead the way. And that's where I started and launched my brand spaces. I hope you've heard our brand spaces in India that we have. I launched that in 2003, actually, with no experience, nothing at all. I started that, and I then just took a giant leap of faith and went to Harvard to do my OPM. Just did it. So I think after that, when I took on the reins of Welspun Living, which was Welspun India at that time, people just felt that is Welspun really serious about what they want to do? And I tell everyone, and I tell this forum as well, that and I tell my daughters, that if I can work, anybody else can. Because I think the only thing that I did was play on my strengths. Because when I took on textiles, I didn't know anything about cotton. I didn't know what yarn was, how fabric was made, and how the textiles was made. I played on my strength. And what was my strength? Being a woman. Because the other side was a woman. The other side, the buyer was a woman. So I think from there, my journey began. Journey of understanding. I knew the consumer better than nobody else. So that's where I played on my strength, Anisha. And then, of course, I learned my job on the ground, that I still do. I love the factory floors. I love the buzz. But from that 8% of women at Welspun, today we have around 30% women. Wow. That's the journey we've covered. And that journey wasn't easy, because I think all of you all know that we all need our cheerleaders. We all need allies. We need people, not just as women, but as your peers who respect you, as your families who can share that responsibility, right? And so we did various programs there too. So Anisha, I can say that journey has been really interesting, but for me, the biggest thing that's closest to my heart today is diversity. Diversity in the form, not just about women. Diversity in the form of embracing everybody. Embracing the specially abled who work at our factories in the spinning unit. Embracing everybody in the terms of transgender. And I think it's this, India is with 1.4 billion people. Yeah. It's an interesting country. And there's lots to work with and opportunities to work with.
So, I do want to continue with where I started. Did you ever suffer the Malkin syndrome? If you were walking the factory floors, and in a manufacturing world, and we heard Rohit speak about how difficult it is in manufacturing, and you have this owner's wife, and so ye to Malkin hai, so people are looking at you as, Malkin, and not so much as the professional expert that you are.
So Anisha, for that, I think you can ask anybody. For me, I think walking the talk was very important. I think I would be the earliest who comes to the office and leaves the latest from the office.
Yeah, even now, I know that.
At the factories, my factory tours are not less than 4 to 5 hours. We are in a part of Gujarat, which is a sweltering heat of 50 degrees. And it starts from there. And for me, it's not just about a factory walk. It's about interacting with all my teams, because I feel that's where I understand what my people feel about me and what the people feel about our company. Because if, there who work and make the things happen, I mean, we can sit in the boardrooms, Anisha, and talk strategies, but it's them who make that happen. If they don't come in, our machines won't work. Is where I need to understand them. My conversation with them there, to that extent, using the toilets on the floor to understand where, how everything, the hygiene is there or not, talking to them is so important. So Anisha, people might call me the Malkin, but yes, I really believe that if I can walk the talk, make people also get inspired that if I can do it, they can also do it, is a big deal for me.
Correct. So how difficult or easy was it for you? I believe you got married at 18. You studied after you got married.
Yeah.
You, for the first time, entered the kitchen after you got married. You were responsible for, like everybody else, packing tiffins and, making sure that, everybody, BKG gets to work on time and being behind him. 2 kids born very quickly after marriage. And you actually completed your studies after marriage. You started your work after your 2 daughters were born. And you would drop them to school, and that's when you decided to work. So, the general norm is that, mostly, I mean, you have no reason to work because you had started doing, the company has started doing reasonably well. And why would she want to leave her 2 kids and she has everything going for her? Then what's just actually getting her? Why is she so ambitious? What's actually getting her to work? So, what was that inner motivation for you to just, after 10 years of being part of that life, then getting and starting the work?
I think it was something that I felt, because first of all, I spoke about my daughters. That was a very important thing. And as a human being, I've always felt that we have to constantly evolve and constantly learn. And that has been the journey for me, Anisha, because I feel that if I don't learn, and today as well, if you don't have the curiosity to learn or to see, I think we're going to be redundant, even as organizations. So, by the way, when you said that, okay, Welspun was doing well, but when I got on board, Welspun Living was $400 million, and today we are $1 billion and raring to go to $2 billion. So I think we can, as human beings, we cannot be satisfied with what we have. And I think that's something we have to constantly keep the child in yourself alive.
Yeah.
And that's what it was, Anisha, and the hunger.
Hunger.
And hunger. Agar wo nahi hoga, to kuch hoga nahi.
Stay curious, stay hungry.
Yes.
Be ambitious.
And also never give up.
Never give up.
Never give up. I think that's been something, been my motto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of the real challenges that you faced, As you were going through this journey, you started off so late, and then you created your own brand. You learned the ropes of, of the trade. There must be some challenges and some real issues that you faced. So 1 or 2 anecdotes that can really help us understand what you went through to reach where you have.
So there are 2 things that come to my mind. So when I started my brand Spaces in 2003, you know that India was evolving. India has come to its rapid pace today. We can talk about the 5th largest economy going to the 3rd very soon. But the consumption, what was then, right? We had opened around 200 well-home stores as well, which was for the bottom of the pyramid. And when I had to shut those stores, because I really couldn't continue, because we all know here that retail doesn't have the whole industry status in the terms of legalities and the norms. And, we really couldn't afford that at that time. And that was very, very heartbreaking. But I think one thing that we all know, that from failure, is a learning. And that learning is very, very precious. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what it was. The other one was very heart-wrenching for me. Even in 2016, we had the Egyptian cotton scandal. And that was one of the biggest where, we have around 20,000 people who work with us. And for me, the heartbreaking thing was that, I hope I can keep my people on the job. But with one failure, with one mistake, and going back to all the retailers and telling them that we fumbled and we made a mistake, but we are going to learn from this mistake and make it kind of an industry, kind of a first, is going to be a big deal. And I did that. I went and met all the retailers across the world in different time zones, but also committed that every month I'll come back to tell you what we have created. So today, we have a system called WellTrack, which has the complete traceability, which can trace it back to the farm. and you can put a QR code, you can understand from which bale it comes in from. And that was the beginning of the blockchain that we all speak about today. So this was 2016 when we started. And that was one of the textiles industry defining traceability we created. And one of the firsts, even in the entire textile industry, that I must say that. The thing that I learned from there, Anisha, that is that you have to lead from the front. When there's a mistake, in an organization and in your life journey, there will be mistakes. There will be those fumbling points. But if you learn from them and lead from the front is what really makes all the difference. So yeah, that was a big one for me. But today I can tell you, and our ESG scores are out again.
Yes.
Our Dow Jones Sustainability Index is at 66, one of the top 3 percentile in the world today.
In the world, not just in India.
So I think with one mistake is a learning that comes in, and I think which really makes you. So I think what doesn't break you, breaks you. What doesn't break you, makes you. And I think that's what I've learned, Anisha.
Yeah. And I believe all the clients that you lost at that point in time have all come back to you. They're all back and firmly back in your stance.
So we had just lost one, and that also is back.
That also
and
is back, yes.
Truly, I think we have all strategic partners who are working with us, and really happy about that, because they believe that, for them to have Welspun working with them is a great partnership as well.
So what's the next norm that you're ready to storm?
While coming here, it took me 1.5 hours, and with me was Sanjeev, who is the head of our CSR. So let me share. The biggest thing that what I want to do, there are a lot of other things that business will do, business will happen. Yeah. I can talk about a lot of my ambitions, that side. But the biggest personal thing that what I'm talking about today, we are upcycling rags, which generate out of a factory, which then we stop it from going to the landfills. From there, the women make, the cushions and the rugs on the pit looms. They operate their bank account, and the child goes to school. And I always believe that if woman is empowered and if she's independent, child will definitely go to school, and that's the biggest challenge that we have in our country. China is 100% literacy, but look at us, we are not even at 60 to 70%. So for me, at every factory that we have, we are looking at creating those kind of centers with this same business model. And the day I touch over, 10 million women and their lives, I think that's the day I can hang my boots.
Awesome. Awesome.